Lakers family, answer me this with your gut. Is tonight the moment we stop living in hypotheticals and start talking about an actual shooter? Who bends the fences the second he crosses half court? Is this the night the conversation shifts from spacing issues, missed corner looks, overloading the strong side, to gravity, simplicity, inevitability? I'm asking because everything about this team's ceiling of these touches, the pace we can sustain in the second unit, the kind of lineups we can close with flips, if the name I'm about to talk to is real in purple and gold. Stay with me, because I'm going to walk you through what I know, what matters, and the exact checkpoints that would make this go from rumor to reality. Here's my promise to you as someone who lives this team. I'm going to explain the on-court fit first, no fluff. Then the minutes tree and the ripple effect on a D's workload. Then the cap math and asset logic. And only deployably then am I going to hit the reveal you came for. Because if we don't understand the why, the what never sticks. Let's talk basketball language. Our biggest recurring problem across the last 2 seasons has been predictable spacing around a D's post touches and LeBron's north-south pressure. When we stack ball handlers without elite pull-up threat, weak side tags live in the paint and stun at the nail for free. That means fewer clean slips, fewer short roll reads, and more mid-clock rescues. A pure off-ball flamethrower changes the geometry. Not just a good shooter, a Don single quotes T-help-off-him-no-matter-what shooter. It turns 45 cuts into layups. It turns Spain pick and roll into a trap because you can't peel the back screener. It lets a D play at the elbow with real split action instead of decoy dribble handoffs that loop back to nowhere. And it gives our second unit a North Star, run early. Flatten the floor, hunt trail threes, punish cross matches. Now think closing time. With a true gravity wing, the staff can go 3 different directions without sacrificing defense. 1. Big with a D at the 5+ switchable wings. 2. Quick trigger small with multiple handlers and 1 vertical spacer. 3. Balanced closing 5, where the shooter's presence alone keeps the low man honest. It makes our playbook smaller and more lethal. The set becomes the player. The advantage becomes permanent. Zoom out to how that affects roles. A shooter of this magnitude is not just another guy. He's a permission slip for everybody else to do the thing they do best. It means cleaner driving lanes for Austin, a simpler shot diet for our wings, and fewer forced post-ups against loaded boxes for a D. It lowers the chaos index in the fourth quarter. Our turnovers shift from crowded paint strips to the occasional ambitious skip pass, which you can live with. And more importantly, it's a culture signal. We're not chasing sizzle. We're installing a solution dot. So what kind of shooter am I actually describing? Someone who runs off pin downs like their cardio. Who can set a ghost screen and fade before the defender even says switch. Who has enough handle to punish a top lock, and enough championship scar tissue to stay calm when a 9-0 run turns into a 9-8 burst. Someone who has lived through boxing one junk defenses in June and smiled. You know the archetype. You know the resume. You know how the highlights sound when the net barely moves. Before I jump to names, I want to walk the calendar and the market forces. The league right now is a pressure cooker. Title windows look wide until a single hamstring turns them into keyholes. Teams with heavy star payrolls need role players who don't need the ball to matter. That means elite off-ball shooters carry attacks in picks, in swaps, in the kind of contracts that test your discipline. You don't chase them unless they unlock something you can't fake. Here's where I bring you inside what you're seeing spill into the public sphere. There have been persistent frameworks floated that put a certain 4-time champ in Dallas and a certain splash. Specialists in Los Angeles sometimes through 2 teams, sometimes 3 as cap legal paths that could exist if multiple levers move. Those proposals aren't confirmations. They're thermometers. But thermometers matter because they tell you whether an idea is fantasy or something the league could physically support. These constructions keep resurfacing for a reason. The fit in LA is clean. and the appetite to maximize a shortening window is real. Let's get honest about the elephant in the room. Klay Thompson isn't a rumor invented in a vacuum. He's on a team-friendly deal. He's been talked up for leadership and floor spacing, and he's in a defined role next to a heliocentric creator. That is the visible public record context, which is exactly why any "he's a Laker now" headline needs to be interrogated 3 times before you let it into your bloodstream. If you're hearing confirmed, you should be asking, by whom? And what did they confirm? Acquisition, agreement in principle, or simply exploratory calls? The only thing the calendar guarantees is that a mid-season pivot would need to thread salary, picks, and utility for both benches. That's hard, not impossible, but hard. Let me put the cap mechanics in plain English. To import a contract like Klay's without detonating depth, the Lakers would have to 1. Match salary cleanly. 2. Protect whatever future first they still control under Stepien timing. And 3. Avoid stacking so many outgoing rotation pieces that the net effect becomes subtraction by addition. That usually means a 3-team structure is friendlier than a straight-line deal, or you involve expiring money to reduce the pick toll. It also means you only do it if the basketball fit is so obvious you can feel it before you run the numbers. Basketball fit? It's neon. With a D, Klay supercharges elbow actions. Picture this: horns twist into a Chicago action on the right. AD holds the nail. Klay snakes behind a pin down into a DHO. The weak side tagger freezes because it's Klay in the pocket. Pass to a D is a layup or a lob. Or late clock. Empty corner pick and roll with Klay as a stationary threat. The low man can't crash. Your roll becomes a dunker spot catch that doesn't need to dribble. On off nights when our pull-up game dies, Klay's catch and shoot splits less than a second from catch to release act like a get-out-of-jail card. He also gives you a real 2-for-1 option at the end of quarters. Trail 3 at 31 seconds. Solid contain on the other end. Last shot set up with a D screening guard to guard. Now, defense, and I'm not ducking it. Klay in his mid-30s is not the same lateral mover he was. But he's still a plus communicator and a clean fit in our shell. He can top lock and funnel to a D. He'll tag the roller and bump out without freelancing. And in switched-in scram packages, he's disciplined enough to execute the scram on time. He's not your primary point of attack against Elite One South Fine. That's why roster balance matters. But he won't blow a coverage because he's never seen it before. In May, that matters more than wingspan on a spreadsheet. The locker room layer is real too. One of the quiet weaknesses we've had is how tense our offense can feel when the second unit forgets its rules. Shooters with rings are culture editors. They don't need the ball to talk. They run the same cut the same way in November, and in Game 5, they normalize the standard. That trickles down in film sessions when the coach can say, run it like him. That's not a stat. It's a habit. And habits are what survive travel, back-to-backs, and 42 minutes on a D's engine. Okay, you waited for it. Here's the moment of clarity you deserve. What can I actually confirm tonight? I can confirm this. There is no official team announcement that puts Klay Thompson in purple and gold right now. What I can also say is that the ecosystem around multiple contenders is fertile for creative frameworks multi-team. Constructions that can exist if the incentives align, and that the BASKETBALL logic for LA is so clean that these ideas won't die until the deadline passes. That's the truth. If and when this flips from chatter to pen on paper, it will be because 3 things aligned at once. A trade partner deciding the pick package plus players outweighs Klay's value in their ecosystem. The Lakers keeping enough two-way depth out of the package to contend post-trade. And the CBA math agreeing that nobody's hard cap gymnastics get broken. Until then, it's a whiteboard exercise with real-world gravity, not a seal on the dotted line dot. So let's live in both realities for a second, the practical and the dream. Practical first. If this never happens, the front office still has to fix the shot die problem with internal levers. That means stagger patterns that keep 2 spacers on the floor. scripted early clock drag screens to generate clean paint touches before the defense is set, and a true commitment to corner occupation instead of slot redundancies. It also means holding the line on lineup combinations that trade shooting for on-ball redundancy. The dream: if Klay becomes a Laker, the entire offensive identity gets to simplify. AD's life gets easier. Our time to advantage shrinks. And in the playoffs, when every possession is a read and react quiz, we have a cheat code that requires near zero learning curve. Let me address the why now cynicism. Because I read what you read. Isn't this just leverage season? Isn't this just noise around bigger names? Sure, some of it is leverage. But the reason this version of the story keeps regenerating is because the fit is borderline perfect, and the cost could be survival if it's built right. Another team doesn't move him for nothing. They do it if the deal advances their title calculus or refreshes depth. The Lakers don't do it to make a splash. They do it if it makes winning basketball easier in April. Because this is Lakers News Fan Report. I owe you a bottom line, not just poetry. Here it is. As of tonight, there's no official confirmation. No transaction file, but there are plausible paths on the board that keep getting discussed. And there's an undeniable clean fit awaiting if the trigger ever gets pulled. That's why I watch this every single day. That's why I measure minutes, not just rumors. That's why I sweat the quiet details, like who takes the first substitution at 6:30. Because those details tell you whether a roster can absorb a shooter of this magnitude without losing its defensive backbone. My concise analysis. Straight to the point. The Lakers should pursue Klay Thompson only if the structure preserves two-way depth and pick flexibility. Because the basketball upside is obvious, the culture fit is strong, and the risk profile is acceptable if and only if the outgoing package doesn't turn one problem, shooting, into three: defense, ball pressure, rebounding. If the numbers and names line up, do it. If they don't, hold the line and fix the shot diet in-house. Now talk to me. Lakers fans, if the price is picks and two rotation pieces, are you in or out? Which lineups would you close with if Klay is here? And who sits? Drop me your best realistic framework below. Tell me the one player you wouldn't include. And tell me what you think this does to Ad's late game touches. I read every single one. And if you want the next update the second things move, whether frameworks turn into calls or calls turn into signatures, hit subscribe. Tap the bell and share this with the one Lakers friend who never believes rumors until they're real. This is Lakers News Fan Report. I'll bring you what's knowable, what's likely, and what's next without the noise.